friends, and welcome to Binge O'Clock, the podcast where we watch something and then we talk about it. I'm Joy Selden. I've seen almost everything.
I'm Danielle Nga, and I've seen almost nothing.
I'm Nella, and I would like to write a strongly worded complaint cuneiform tablet about the lack of copper available in these episodes.
Specifically, copper?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, who's running this show? Ina Sear? Like, what's going on?
Why should there be copper around?
Because there wasn't copper in episode 3. And then we had to suffer through that.
It's as if the writers needed, a narrative device in which they could orchestrate this hero's sacrifice. And so, no copper. No copper it is. Also, Ivan.
Anyway.
Who's scary, by the way.
Well, listeners, as you may have guessed by the somewhat low to medium energy of the three of us, we have actually officially started Fringe Season 5, episodes 1 through 3.
You thought you'd seen the last of me, but I'm in it to the end.
We'll find a way. We'll find a way to bring the energy up somehow, some way. But
So, season 5. Look, season 5 is a rough patch. Season 5 is we introduce Fetch Quest almost immediately. We get a lot of plot that, as I think I've said before, doesn't really make a whole ton of sense and is totally bonkers.
Yeah. And it's also, but it's bonkers. Like, okay, we've seen bonkers Fringe before. Right? Mm-hmm. But bonkers Fringe in seasons 1 through 4 is like wild. It's like the writers are just throwing things at the script and things explode and then there's goo and then it's fun. Like, this is bonkers storyline that is also somehow boring.
Somehow they managed to threaten like this world takeover with making and still manage to make the world feel smaller. And, the stakes were lower. And I'm kind of amazed by that. I am amazed by how low stakes this feels.
To be fair, we went from 2 entire worlds being in danger to now just one world being in danger.
To now really just like Boston.
So, you know what this is? You want to know what this season is?
Okay.
It's the scouring of the Shire.
Oh.
We had the big to-do. We saved the world, and now we got to go save the Shire. But people have feelings about that, and I got to tell you, it's better in Lord of the Rings.
I hear you. The analogy my brain went to when you started that sentence was like, the Avengers have saved the world. Now let's talk about Hell's Kitchen.
You're not wrong.
Hey. I will not hear any bad mouthing of Daredevil on this show.
Oh, I did like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, both fantastic. But still, when you're talking about the scope of the
Let's talk about Hell's Kitchen, which is really Bowling Green, because we can't film in Hell's Kitchen.
One guy who micromanages the hell out of Hell's Kitchen.
This one neighborhood.
Okay, but Fringe. We're here to talk about Fringe. Episodes 1 through 3.
Yes. While we were watching episode 1, I think, quote unquote, episode 1, because I'm still convinced that the, episode 19 or whatever it was from season 4 is technically the episode 1. But it's like, it's such a weird place to be with, like, the bullets that can actually hurt the observers, like the guns. Yes. And it's like, I feel like we only had that other episode where like September gets taken just to be like, look, we can hurt him, like, okay, fine, I guess. It's such a weird 5th season is just completely out of time and space. And I don't understand this like fascist regime that has lasted for 20 years.
No, you're absolutely right. Because it's basically like they took all of the rules and everything that they'd established for season 4, leading up to season 4, and they were like, all right, now take all that, throw it out the window. Now the observers don't just observe. Now Peter and Olivia are no longer your OTP. Now the Walter you know and love and Walternate are now just one person somehow.
Right. You're not wrong.
We're never going to let Astrid and Walter interact ever again. Like
it's true. Do they even say like 6 words? Do they even share like 6 words between the two of them in this episode? Although no, they do because of the laser. Like there is a moment with the laser of like, do you want to try? Which is cute. Which is very cute.
Okay. So what do we do? Do we talk about season 1? I mean episode 1?
I mean, do we have
episode 1.5?
I feel like 1.5. I feel like we can talk about overarching. See, this is the other thing too, is like the plot and the drama of the show, which are 2 very separate things in season 5. Like they draw very clear lines between the 2 of them. I barely remember plot between episode to episode because they're so synced together that actually
fair.
Your notes might help us there, but
probably. I mean, okay, so overall plot. The observers are terrible now. And the and the rebels should I feel more comfortable calling them rebels.
We don't have to
have
to call them natives because really, what the hell?
Okay. And right? Damn. Okay. The rebels are going to want to overthrow this regime. Now, fortunately, Walter has come up with a plan. But because he's Walter...
Which September helped him with.
Yes.
Which September helped him with. Now, because he's Walter, he's decided to fragment the plan in his brain so that Windmark can't get it from him. But since he's fragmented it in his brain, now they also can't get at it.
Yep.
Thanks to Windmark's torture scene. And so now the entire team is on just a series of fetch quests to assemble the different parts of Walter's plan.
Because you see, we couldn't just have it in his brain scrambled. No, he had a backup of videotapes. So we need the videotapes, which are all in the lab, which are in amber. But then even when you find the videotapes, you still have to figure out what's on the videotapes. And then you still have to fetch quest what the videotapes directs you to go and find for the master plan, of which we still don't know what the master plan is because there's 7 tapes?
8,
possibly more.
I think there's 8.
I mean, he pulled up that little blueprint briefly. It looks like it's some kind of device.
Right.
But, no one really knows what the plan is, including Walter himself. So here we go. Astrid is in the lab, just slowly lasering videotapes out of amber, I guess, for the foreseeable future, and then passing this information over to the rest of the team.
Yep. It was definitely a choice to base multiple episodes on.
I'm so mad that Astrid has the most boring job.
The most boring job in the most dangerous location, because it's not even just that the lab was abandoned. No, the observers have made Hartford their base of operation. It's an observer lab thing, and
yes,
technically the lab is in an abandoned building, but you still have to get into Harvard campus. They have to use secret steam tunnels through Cambridge to get there. And then even once they get there, they have to heist some power to redirect it. So, I hope no one's paying attention to, the power redirect. You're literally sitting in the middle of the danger, doing the most boring job on Earth.
Yes. Just meticulously using a tiny laser that they got from a Laserdisc player.
Yes. Okay, which is arguably my favorite scene.
That is pretty great. But it's just, Astrid. I feel so bad. It's just the equivalent of that, I don't know, that Phantom Toll Booth kind of task where you've got a little teaspoon and you have to move all the sands from one beach to another beach.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that. But
with Walter in your ear.
Walter in your ear. I think the writers for season 5 didn't didn't understand how to work the conflict of a fascist regime. So what you get is you get the same characters who have lived through certain things that, we eventually find out through, pieces and bits of information. Like you have Peter and Olivia talking about how they lost their daughter. Like there was this attack and then they were separated and they didn't know what happened to her.
Yep.
Up until they were frozen in amber. Like they had no idea where she was. And, they grew apart because he couldn't let it go. And she, not moved on, but she like decided to fight in other ways, and it didn't, and like it didn't jive anymore. And I'm sitting here like, but you used to be so good at showing the conflict and how the conflict can bring the characters closer together. Like that's what we got in seasons 1 through 3. We had like the conflict of the cases you were working helped you figure out what you were even doing.
It really does feel that in season 5, though, the writers got tired of dealing and exploring and unpacking trauma, and they decided to handle their trauma as parents who lost their child on a speed run.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I was going to ask how y'all felt about their treatment of Peter and Olivia here, because I don't just think it's, the romantic in me that dislikes what is done to these two characters. I also just don't think it really makes sense with the Peter and Olivia that we knew.
They talk it out and nothing comes of it. Because they just talk it out. They just talk it out in 2 episodes. And maybe it comes up again later on, but it feels like even the actors themselves are just like tired of being put back in this position. I guess let's just get through it as fast as we can so we can get back on this fetch quest.
I'm just so used to the way Peter and Olivia talk stuff out, right? Is they're supposed to be in the middle of an action-packed situation where really they need to be going somewhere else or doing something else. And instead they sit down, they yell their feelings at each other.
While staring at their daughter and talking about, wow, isn't she just everything we possibly could have imagined? She's all grown up and gosh, isn't this weird? And it's so weird because a lot of these conversations come out of staring at their daughter, Etta, whom they still barely know.
Weird. It's supposed to be emotional vomit with them. They're just supposed to like bleh, their feelings and then
you're not wrong.
And then come to a conclusion that works for the both of them, make a decision and move on with their lives. This is how Peter and Olivia work.
And I think again that stems from the writers not having the right amount of conflict in these episodes. It's, it's like you were saying, it's all they've given them is a fetch quest in the middle of a fascist regime. And the thing about a fascist regime, not that I'm too familiar with them, but everything I've seen in media is there's a lot of waiting around for the fascists to either kill themselves off or get overthrown. Like there's not a lot of, yes, some of the people at the top may try to overthrow the fascists, but we're talking about we're talking about freaking Anne Frank in an attic, like just trying to be as quiet as possible and not be loud and be silent and read a book and just wait until the Nazis go away.
Right.
And that doesn't work for this show. It doesn't.
It really brought to mind, and I know we keep coming back to this show, but season 4 and 5 of Person of Interest. Because I remember how hard it was for me to watch season 4. But that's because it felt like the stakes were so high, I literally could not imagine how this would work out for anyone. Never mind that I was sure everyone I loved was going to die. Which, spoilers, Person of Interest does have a very high body count, actually. But it earned it. And when these characters in Person of Interest are running around trying to save the world from a fascist AI that is taking over everything and they do not know where is safe and they are just barely hanging on with their own AI that has scruples and therefore is not as powerful as the other one as they lose more and more ground against this unstoppable foe, and the hopelessness of it. There's none of that in this season.
Exactly.
5. There is none of that in this show.
Exactly. No, the stakes are weird. The stakes don't make sense. And it's once you take away because, at its core, Fringe is, a procedural with fringe science and weird monsters and science fiction nonsense, right? And you took away the procedural. So you're kind of just left with soap opera? Maybe?
So I was telling Joy this, like, when we were on episode 3 of this watch, where I just turned to her and I was like, this feels like that part in a video game where you're about to trigger, like, the final big bad, you're Laura Croft and you have to kill everyone on Hudshot Island to save your friend. You're Alloy and you have to, like, defeat Hades, like, in order to save the world, like, from, again, another evil AI. Sorry, spoilers if you haven't played the first game.
Spoilers.
But, like, you're at the point before the save point that triggers the final fight. So you can faff about with, like, all the side quests and all the leveling up, and you can go back to the hunting grounds and practice using your caster, and, like, there's all these things you can do, even though every time you have a conversation with one of the NPCs, they're like, yeah, and the final battle's coming and it's going to be really bad, so you better get ready because, like, any minute now. And you're just like, I have been wandering the wilderness for 30 days, like, and it's not going to trigger until I say it triggers. And that's what this feels like.
No, that's it. That's it. It doesn't trigger until the Fringe team decides they're going to trigger it. And the stakes are not, those stakes are not this show. This show doesn't exist on that.
Like, what we actually need is a ticking time bomb. Like, we need the team to be under pressure, and they're not under pressure.
You would think, like, and every time I watch season 5, like, don't get me wrong, I don't hate season 5. It just happens to be my least favorite season of Fringe. But, like, every time I watch it, I keep having all these other thoughts about, like, Etta is a Fringe agent. She could be working cases. Yes. She could be on her, like, doing her Fringe team thing.
I so absolutely thought she would actually have to be on the run after she helps them with the van in one of these episodes. And, like, they have, like, hologram video of her. They know what she looks like. Mm-hmm. And by episode 3, she's like, there's no, like, they bust into her apartment and they tear everything apart. There's no one being like, they're after you. You got to go underground. Like, she's acting like she can just go back to her desk job and no one will.
She can just walk through cities, go see a Neil, you know? Or, by the way, can we discuss the, I think, second heist maybe that they go on where they have Peter dress up as a loyalist and they put a little tattoo on his cheek. Right. And then they put a little tattoo on Etta's cheek.
And the Fringe agent?
Hold on.
The Fringe agent in the universe?
The Fringe agent.
I can't believe I'm going to say this.
Everyone knows.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I miss the show me's from the alternate universe where it was like, oh, you're not going anywhere without that, actually. So you got to find another solution, my friends.
You really, 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 really need this. Really, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. Okay, their heists made absolutely no sense. Okay, so there was that one where for some reason they gave Etta a tattoo on her cheek when honestly everyone that she encountered in that office should have recognized her or been aware of her.
Or she should have just been able to show her Fringe credentials and be like, I'm part of a Fringe team.
Exactly. So fine. But what about the first heist where they disguise, quote, quote, Peter as a dead body? Oh, that was so... Okay, so Peter is disguised as a dead body. Etta is the one who brings him into the morgue because, fine, she can just walk around as a Fringe agent. Astrid is hiding inside a bench in the truck so that she can act as the getaway driver. For some reason, no one finds her. Yeah. Weird. And then, once they get Peter inside, they dramatically wake Peter up. They let Olivia in through a side door.
Yep, I know.
So you're telling me
you didn't even need to...
Etta could have just let them in through the side door?
Didn't we?
Is that what I'm hearing?
So, there was no other reason for her to go to this place than I'm dropping off a dead body. We couldn't come up with something else.
Or also she just lets them in the side door.
Or she brings 2 dead bodies.
Or 2 dead bodies. It doesn't make sense. Why?
Wait. It could have been even simpler. Correct me if I'm wrong, because again, these episodes kind of exist like one in my brain. So please correct me if I'm wrong. But am I not mistaken in that we actually had a literal dead body towards the beginning of this episode? You could have brought in that one.
Well, they do. They fully bring in a second dead body that is just the dead body.
And then let Olivia and Peter come in the side entrance. Like, all you need is one. Guys.
This heist doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
It truly doesn't.
I mean,
truly doesn't.
I will. So I'll say that. So I know we've complained a bit about these episodes. Why don't we talk a little bit about some of the aspects we liked?
I like the dandelion of hope.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, where Walter's listening to the CD in the car.
He's been tortured and his brain's been scrambled and he's listening to music in the old taxi and he sees a dandelion of hope.
Yeah, that's nice.
He does.
That was nice. I liked that. I wanted to sing Secret Tunnel very badly when they're sneaking through the steam tunnel to sneak back into the lab. Secret Tunnel.
Secret Tunnel.
Look, I know the character work was kind of stilted in these episodes. I liked that Peter and Olivia are conflicted about what's happened to their daughter. I like that their daughter grew up in this world that they don't understand, and they both react to it in different ways. Like, Peter is much more willing to accept that Etta had to do what she had to do, and here's where we are. Right. And Olivia is not. Olivia is just like, I don't want this world to make you hard. I don't want this world to make you lose.
I don't want you to torture Nazis for just because you can.
And, I think that makes sense, though, because Peter, original Peter, had that whole criminal element to his personality, right? He's always been that character. And we know that Murder Peter is part of this show's reality.
Hey, kiddo, sometimes you just have to commit a little murder.
Murmur. It's not
maybe a little light
it's
murder.
It's not like I know. It's one of those things where it's like, obviously I'm not happy that it exists, but I'm happy that at least the characters are consistent in what we know about them. Like, Olivia is going to be a lot more.
Exactly.
Again, original Olivia is like, I'm driven by my emotions. I care about people, and that's what makes me a good agent. And like, she cares about people, and that's how she works. Although it is funny watching this. I felt slightly bad, but I also remembered who I was when I watched it. And I was like, no, he deserves to live. And I was like, maybe he doesn't. What if he doesn't? I don't know what he's done. You don't know. He could have killed babies. We don't know.
But Joy, he feeds birds.
He feeds birds, Joy. I mean, he lied about having a son, but he feeds birds, Joy. But he's just Joe Schmo Nazi. Just trying to keep his head down and feed some birds.
Oh boy!
Can we just talk about the observers putting their Nazi brethren in the most fascist of not Nazi uniform?
Yes,
like
the most fascist.
The observers looked throughout all of time and space and was just like, what about Nazi uniforms? Is that too on the nose? I don't think so. I think we know exactly what we are.
I feel
they'll get it. They'll get
it's somewhere between Russian uniforms and Nazis uniforms, and it's so not subtle.
It's like the observers on a whole were like the mirror universe image of that meme of are we the baddies? And instead they were like, we are the baddies.
But what if we were the baddies?
We were the baddies.
The baddies.
Right down to they have to poison the atmosphere because our world is a little too clean for them. And I'm like, that's really on the nose show.
Too oxygen rich.
And I'm just like, can't you just be constantly smoking or something, observers? That'll really
have a little fun.
As a treat.
This is where I carefully look off camera.
Instead, they're just gonna pave over beautiful areas.
And then the kaiju rise from the Pacific Ocean, and then we have Pacific Rim.
Oh, see, that's what this show needs.
A giant monster coming from the
that's
water.
what this show needs.
Okay, no, that's it. I'm going to write this fic. The observers do achieve their end goal. They have destroyed the atmosphere. It is no longer so oxygen rich, and it's warmer, and everything's changed. And then the kaiju show up, and then the observers have to go back in time and grab the humans that can fight the kaiju.
Yes.
Because they messed up. You done swear jar up, AA Ron.
They messed around and found out.
Yeah.
Their mind-bending powers don't work on giant monsters.
They have two brains. Now what are you going to do, observers?
$5 says Windmark tries, and then it's so disastrously wrong.
Oh, no, and then his brain explodes.
Yeah, like he gets stepped on.
Yeah.
Or he just gets stepped on.
He gets pancaked.
Yeah.
Did we just say that in unison?
He gets pancaked.
Joy.
Get out of my brain.
No, and then
Wish.
and then a grizzled old man who survived like the poisoning of the atmosphere with this straggling of human survivors goes to the ocean and sees the kaiju rising from the ocean as the observers panic and goes, let them fight. I'm already like,
where's your
3,000% more invested in this kaiju fan fiction than I am in what we've actually been watching in season 5.
Can I name the episode Kaiju Fan Fiction? Even though it has almost nothing to do with the show that we're watching.
I know, that feels like too much of a... I feel like people are going to listen in expecting kaiju. This is going to be like that apocalyptic novel, The Strange Invaders, where I really thought they'd be dinosaurs. Instead, they were just like giant, like iguanas.
Oh, that's right.
And I was really disappointed.
That is disappointing. That's true. Let's not disappoint anyone. Let's make it very clear that these are episodes about never-ending side quests.
Yeah.
Never-ending side quests.
I do think
that's the show title, Never-ending side quests.
It's not bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, there are a couple other... I agree with you, Joy. I actually do like those moments between Peter, Olivia, and Etta that are focused on how each of them is managing this world that they all live in. But beyond that, I want to go back to something I didn't love and want to talk about, which is Markham.
Oh, God, Markham.
We didn't need this. We didn't need this at all. You could have literally picked any character. Any other character. Any other character.
Yeah.
You know why we didn't need this also?
Yeah.
Is because he doesn't, he's not the Markham we know. He's the Markham that Olivia showed up once and, Peter showed up once, and he doesn't have this friendship with Peter that goes back years or what have you. This is a Markham that is, only known them for 4 or 5 years, assuming that they continued to go to Markham for weird fringe nonsense after season 4 ended. This isn't even our Markham. And it shows.
Because what he does, if you don't remember, dear listeners, is that the rest of the team is looking for Olivia because she's been separated from them. They track her back to a black market where Walter really unfortunately hits on a woman who's dressed like a, quote, geisha.
Oh, God. Why?
She also...
Between that and using that slur for, their Amber G-word slur, what? What are we doing?
Oh, I know.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
I know. We should have known better in 2015, but they did not.
Agreed. Okay. So they track Olivia back to this black market, and it turns out that Markham bought her and has been using her as a coffee table for who knows how long, kind of creepily hoping that he can wake her up and she'll see him as her savior.
I don't think it's been that long because it was something about fresh cuts. So, this weird underground has this the freshest cuts are over there. So it's one of those maybe it's only been a couple of days, but we don't know. But it's weird. It's he has, he has this weird, white knight scenario in his head that like she'll wake up and she'll see him as her savior and like they'll live the rest of their lives together and she won't care about my height, you know, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Same. I'm like, why? Why did you do this to Markham? Why did you sully this character?
You could have picked anyone else. You could have picked a slew of other characters that we had.
Who would have been a better character? You know what?
What?
Take Brendan, because they already made him evil.
You're not wrong.
Could have been Brendan.
Though it doesn't really track with his character. But he'd be able to get more science-y about it in breaking her out of the
Swear jar. This show. It could have been Swear jar. Nina. It could have been Nina like I couldn't leave her there.
It could have been Nina.
I couldn't leave her there. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I found out that she was on the market and I had to pull her out, but I just don't have I am cut off from my lab. I couldn't actually get her out myself. So I put her in
other plans for
my
Nina.
basement of secrets like everything else.
I mean, okay, that's fair. Nina would not have kept it from the team, though. And we wouldn't have gotten, like, the chase of them, like, tracing them back to this apartment. I like the idea that it was, like, someone, like, inconsequential from their past. Like, you know, as opposed to Markham, because it's, like, I felt like Markham was fairly nuanced.
Like a random villain, maybe, like Perfume Man?
Just do Perfume Man, you know?
No, even a part of me is just like, it still could have been Nina, because then she could have been like, I wasn't able to reach out to you until this moment because I've drawn attention to myself. And now I'm under observance by the observers. And like, and then maybe Nina could have like sacrificed herself, you know, or done something big and dramatic, like, because it's just like, you know, Nina looks like she's managed pretty comfortably, all things considered, in this new world order. Mm-hmm. And then she's the person who throws it away for the greater good or something. I don't know. We could have done something with Nina.
Don't worry, Nina comes back in this season. I promise. We haven't.
Oh, I'm sure
we haven't seen the last of Nina. So the reason I agree, it could have been Nina, and they could have taken it in that direction. I hear that option. Mm-hmm. The thing that makes it so much worse, though, that she ends up a coffee table in someone's apartment, feels like this is something people do. This feels like this is a thing people do. Like, you're not a super great person, and you're like, what if I just had a dude hold up my freaking, you know what I mean, my drink? You know what I mean? Like, it felt like a weird thing that this future had, like, just does.
No, that's fair, because there is a whole black market.
Yeah, this lecherous element of like, yeah, you've saved up your money, go get yourself a person coffee table, you know, or like a conversation piece for your living room. Like,
because there were, when they showed up at the black market, there were what looked like a couple of family members who were kind of sobbing over some of the figures in amber. Right. You know, like someone was missing and they never knew where they went, and then finally they've located them, right? So I'm sure, you know, some of what the black market does is associated with that, but I'm with you on this, Joy. There's something more nefarious going on too, I'm sure.
Yeah. I just didn't like that it was Markham. It's not that I particularly look, is it great that she was somebody's coffee table? No. But like I don't think it's out of place for this world that she was somebody's coffee table. She didn't have to be.
I mean, is this the first time that Olivia has been used as essentially an object in this show? No.
Just getting a bit on the nosy lately. She saves 2 universes, and then she's a coffee table for a couple of days.
Right.
Yeah, no, I just didn't like that it was Markham. But you know what? It's fine, because it wasn't our Markham.
Very true. Very true. We'll just have to keep that somewhere in the back of our brains. That everything that happens in season 5 is its own separate bubble universe and is not, in fact, connected to anything else that we know and love.
It's the black gray universe.
Or the other blue, because the opening credits are a bit blue.
They are kind of blue. It's the bluish gray universe.
And then there's the weird prison camp with the barbed wire, and you're like, that's a bit much.
I know.
A bit much.
They went too hard with the fascist regime, I think. Like, I think
that comes out of left field, right?
It does. It just, like the observers show up there, obviously easily overpower everybody there because they have all this future tech. They're able to like disintegrate a building as soon as they show up. Like they're obviously too powerful, and obviously everybody just surrenders immediately. But like it almost makes you wonder what they could have done if it was a more subtle takeover of like we come in peace and we want to share things, and then they slowly took things over.
But we're also like just lacking the why, because going back to what you had said, I think in a previous podcast episode, Joy, like these humans are the observers' past selves.
They have to be, yeah.
Right? Because these humans become them, because we know observers are future humans. So like, why would you go back and enslave your past selves? Why wouldn't you, for example, aid your past selves so that your future selves become even more technologically advanced than you currently are, right? Because anything you do to your past self would benefit your current / their future selves. So like that's kind of part of it. Or maybe, right? If it was one of those things where like, oh, we've come from the future and we know that you destroy the planet, so we're going to stop you from destroying the planet. Like maybe I could see them taking over for that reason, but that's not why they're taking over, because they are destroying the planet. Like
they're
they are
just
doing
spinning
that.
it along. Like, look, if it were any other show, I'd be like, okay, so this is an allegory for climate change and how we've done absolutely nothing to fight it. In fact, we've only made things worse. Okay, cool. But I don't know. I think there's a part of me that just wanted more, at least funny moments of, regular people dying in these shootouts and stuff, and then like certain observers blinking from existence because whoopsie.
Yeah.
Where is that?
That was your ancestor.
Where's that goofy fringe
right?
science of like you just killed your great grandpa?
So whoops.
Oops.
You never existed.
I mean, as the person.
Although then that just drags me down like the brain thought of like, oh no, but then inevitably you'd have the one episode where it's just like their world is like because of this one person, and if we kill them, they'll all disappear. And it's just like, oh great, the trolley problem. Love it. Love to see it.
Okay, so I can tell you I don't think that happens. But as the person on this call who probably remembers season 5 the best, there isn't, this would have been a really interesting topic for them to cover. I'm pretty sure they never discuss. They eventually discuss certain things that were changing in their future that they either didn't understand or they couldn't look past and they couldn't accept them. For example, something that I don't think is a particular spoiler, you notice how all the observers are men.
Yeah.
They don't really, like one can assume they reproduce in a different way now.
I was just about to say, are you telling me that the women of the future went full Entwife and got the hell out of there? Is that what you're telling me? Did they Entwife, Joy? Did they all go full Entwife?
See, now I wish
there's another bubble
now
universe somewhere with all
right?
the female observers.
Living their best
It's like a
Maynard
beautiful
life.
little utopia.
Their best Maynard life, and they're surrounded by nature and they're happy as clams.
They're just planting orchards. They've got trees. They live near some hobbits.
They're over-oxygenated. They want as much oxygen as possible.
Everything. Oh my God.
I think so. I don't want to spoil too much, but from what I remember, it's a very common thing that happened it was a really common question in, I want to say, the 80s and 90s of like, well, I guess even you see it in Star Trek a little bit too, of like the emotional versus the logical, and like you have to pick a side, and like the observers pick the logical side. They pick logic.
But none of their actions are logical.
Right.
Yes,
but
that's what I don't get what they're doing.
They get rid of as many emotions as possible. They're not emotional creatures.
Oh, I see.
They're not. But yeah, again,
I mean, hence why I would never hand a human child over to a Vulcan to raise them, even though we keep doing that.
Even though Sarek has like a million human children.
You can trust a Vulcan not to be like, and I guess now we have to poison the atmosphere because that makes sense.
Yeah. Or, I think that Windmark takes far too much pleasure in torturing Walter.
So are you telling me the
That's
observers are just
interesting,
Vulcans
isn't it?
that didn't have, like, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one? Is that they're murder Vulcans? Is that what you're telling me?
I think the observers are future people who think they have repressed their emotions. And the thing is the more they are in the past and the more they stay away from their future and the more they come into contact with other emotions, that changes them fundamentally as people. Look at September. September ends up like a squishy little teddy bear by the time, he's just like, I love you guys, man. Like, who could have seen that one coming? Look at August, who like falls in love with a woman in the past. Like we get these little tidbits as the show progresses. And again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but like they think their emotions are gone. They think that's what's happening. And then they're here. And then people like Windmark, like observers like Windmark happen. And it's like, that dude clearly has some anger issues. Clearly.
Yeah.
Like,
Clearly.
But you watch the other observers too, and they don't care. Like they don't care. They don't care about anything. They pursue, they pursue people. They don't pursue people. They, drag a sex worker up to their room, and then that's it. And then they put the sex worker back in the bar. Like they're unaffected for the most part, or their effects are happening to them so much slower. Look at what they eat. They have to eat something that's super spicy in order to taste anything. They need so much exposure to things that are not monotone. That doesn't make sense. But they need...
I feel like then we're missing out on an entire, like, death-defying, like, observer culture of constantly trying to chase some sensation. If we're going to follow the food thing to its natural conclusion, and it's just like...
Look, we could have done so much with who observers are. And honestly, instead we get this fetch quest for season 5. But like we get tidbits. This isn't the last time we're going to talk about this because there is other stuff that comes up in season 5 of like how the observers change just being here. But the thing is like if they've been here for 20 years, this should be different. You know what I mean? Like the reactions to their surroundings should be vastly different than what we're seeing now.
Right. They should be further along in the process.
Exactly. So this is where I think, again, the conflict and the plot lines and like it just doesn't really add up. And I think I see what they were trying to do. Like I see that they were trying to use these observers as a thing, but like you could have done so many more interesting things with the observers other than have one angry dude. Like
right.
That one angry
I like your
dude.
idea of Daredevil observers. Or like a Westworld type situation. Like they should just be having more fun.
Right?
Way more fun.
It's a bait and switch.
Well, if there's one truth across every reality, it's that a fascist doesn't know jack shit about how to have fun.
Also true.
Like, have you seen how the Nazis tried to have fun? I mean, for God's sakes, it's like
so sad.
All they know is propaganda.
That is an excellent point.
It's so
excellent
sad.
Point. These observers don't even bother with propaganda. There aren't really that many posters of them. There's some really boring graffiti everywhere.
Yeah, on the building. You're talking about like those posters on the building of like, what does it say?
Just kind of their silhouettes in black and white.
Does it say anything? Are there words on that thing? Or
Not really.
Yeah, it's just them, right?
Yeah.
Generic observer number 6. I do. Okay.
It's the invaders.
It's all propaganda. No gender theory. I don't know. It's just nothing fun. No one's experimenting with clothing or anything. They're just like,
now you have to write that fan fiction where the female observers are somewhere else having a gay old time, and that's just it.
Yes.
Because the ultimate of like the dudes are too logical and the women are too emotional, and actually the women just have like a baller garden in the middle of nowhere. Well, actually, speaking of one more things, I think we stumbled upon one of mine, which is that I know we were like observer number 6, but I like that canonically there's like number 19.
Yes.
And then also my other one more thing is how walnuts have become an expensive form of currency. In the apocalypse, just you're holding a handful of walnuts and it's $3,000 and it's just like, huh.
See, I would buy almonds. I would walnuts. I don't the ecological horror that would have to happen, that walnuts would have such a high price on the black market in the Northeast.
Yeah.
It should have been almonds. Macadamians. Something that's actually impossible to grow.
Apples
on
are
the
pills
Northeast.
now, so, and eggs are sticks.
Egg sticks.
Eggs are sticks and apples are pills. Those are real walnuts.
Man, you should have just said it's a fake egg. It's made of pea protein or something. I don't know. Egg sticks?
Egg sticks.
But our apartments look great, though. Our food is just awful now.
Yeah.
Well, there is a taxi cab that obviously crashed when they all landed 15 or 20 years ago that nobody's cleaned up. So, maybe the apartments are great.
You could pull that dandelion and make yourself a nice salad, or, you can ferment that.
Get yourself some tea.
If you roast up that root, you could make yourself a good fake coffee. I mean, we have options.
I mean,
The
you should grow
dandelions
some
are
of
still
that in
going.
you got to grow some of that in a windowsill garden and then have yourself some veg, some real food.
I can't believe we're on One More Things and we didn't even discuss episode 3.
Oh, so episode 3.
I don't like episode 3. Okay, so episode 3 is about how journalists can't just be journalists and be impartial. They have to be heroes too, and then he dies. Like, I hate that. I hate it. It's like it's a group of people who are recording history because they because they don't want the
victors to write history and to erase.
They don't want
what
the
actually
victors to
happened.
write history. So they're trying to write this objective thing, and like I get it that they're like, the work they're doing is really important and they can't be found out by the observers and they have to stay in this remote place, but it's also like killing them because they have this bark disease.
Yeah.
Like a bark leprosy. And then it's all coming out of this mine that has a crystal in it. And now part of me is just like, okay, we got to go to the bottom of the mine for the crystal, but we can't go because if you go to the bottom of the mine, then it'll like rapify the bark disease, and then you'll die down there because you'll be a living statue of bark. But like, of course, we got to faff about building a suit to protect from the murder mine. But then, of course, we don't have all the things we need. We need copper to line the suit. So, and then we have like, we need to go to this murder group, of murder cannibal ruffians down the road.
We should have Nella sum up every episode.
Except lies, he doesn't send them to the murder cannibal ruffians down the road because they didn't have copper. And I'm sure they were actually quite lovely. I'm sure they're like, oh man, sorry, bro, we don't have any copper. Better luck next time. Yeah, I know, we already stripped all the houses in the area and, no one has copper pipes in their houses anymore. But we'll let you know if we come across any. But, we're on a very not time restraint because we've been here for how long? And finally the observers are like, we found their car and look at them changing this tire and we sure do know what they all look like, don't we? But there'll be no consequences to these actions. So then, he sends them on a wild goose chase because this is the name of the game nowadays. Yep. Wild goose chases abound, and there's no copper, there's no camp. And then the dude, Edwin, the main archivist, goes down to die at the bottom of the goddamn mine, but just in time to put the crystals needed in a bucket and haul it up.
Yep.
As he sits there, petrifying.
Yes.
The end.
Leaving his son to take up the important work of continuing the historical record.
Yes, because you are the only one who can do it, 10-year-old. We have 40 other adults in this goddamn camp, but this is your legacy, my boy. And his son's name is River. The end.
The end. The end. I love it. That was a beautiful summary. It was better than the episode itself. Honestly.
I would have watched that.
And then we trigger the cutscene where the observers pull over their car, but they're not in the car because they left that car on the side of the road, and then they hotwire another old beat up car, and then they drive off into the who
beat up
knows
station
when.
wagon.
Yep.
And then
because
the
we gotta
cutscene-
have a station wagon.
Yeah, and then the game cutscene, does the little thingy where it loads up the next part of the game.
Yep.
Now's a good time to save your game. And then we move on to the next side quest before the big bad, which we haven't triggered yet because we've got all the time in the world. Stakes.
Yep.
What are stakes?
Well,
not in a video game.
Not in a video game. You have to go back to Astrid and deliver what you've gotten so far, and then you receive
Right,
your
and then you
next-
have to go through the text tree. You have to talk to Astrid and see what she's been doing while you've been gone.
Exactly.
And then, there'll probably be some jokes, and then you'll be like, okay, that's kind of funny, but I kind of really want to get on with the story. I feel like we keep going over the same points.
And then you get a little
and
like
then
beep,
depending
beep,
on-
beep, beep, and it's a nil. A nil's got a thing for you to do real quick.
Sure. Yeah. And then you check your quick time map because we definitely live within a quick time map in this universe. Like you just have to like pick your location on a map and like ping it and then go to the fireplace and then quick time over there. Yeah.
This is the world we live in.
You're not wrong. Why didn't should have been a video game.
Should have been a video game. Yeah.
Fringe would have made a great video game. Fight me.
Great video game. What is my one more thing? You know what? My one more thing is Walter's sunglasses. How about that?
Yes.
How about Walter's sunglasses are my favorite thing in these 3 episodes.
Those beautiful, like, bug eye looking. Yeah. Cat eye, not cat eye sunglasses. Those, yeah. They're pretty great.
I don't know where
I thought yours was going to be the way he reacted to the egg stick.
No. I like the sunglasses.
Fair.
I think my one more thing is in an absolute twist. He's eating the purple vines.
Ah,
yes. Yes, he switched to grape.
Do you think in this universe maybe like red dye number whatever has gone not extinct, but you know what I'm saying? Can no longer be produced?
Maybe it was like there was a run on the store and that was the only vines left. And Astrid bought them just like, look, there's still vines. And he's like, blasphemy. But they were, still there in the amber, trapped in the amber. And like now he's so desperate he'll eat anything. Better than an egg stick.
Yeah, anything.
Definitely.
You know,
better
I
than an
have
egg
to
stick.
agree. I too do not like the color purple in my candies mostly. The one I hate the most is orange. Cannot
Yeah.
abide orange.
Same.
Purple, it's gotta be the right kind of purple, and it so rarely is. But
A Skittle or nothing else.
no, I think I would suffer through a purple Skittle. Yeah.
That silence is all 3 of us thinking through purple candies, dear listeners.
Thank you all for coming on this wonderful
No,
journey.
the good purple I like is a purple sweet tart. I do like a purple sweet tart. That's a good purple.
That is good purple. That is a good purple. See, I'm trying to think about it. Are you enjoying the silence
Yeah.
as we
Dead air on a podcast thinking
purple.
about purple candy. I mean, we've got another 3 minutes if you really want to think of something.
I can't think of any other purple things.
No.
I just avoid purple.
It's okay, because the button on this episode can be a little bit longer. Okay. So, until we get to that button, listeners, we would love to hear from you. Please check us out at Binge O'Clock Pod on Twitter and Facebook, where you can answer the question, is there a video game in which you completed all the side quests before the final battle? You can also email us at bingeoclockpod@gmail.com. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/BachPod.
That's right. And tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell the live lobsters in your life about Binge O'Clock, and we will see you next time.
The closest I came, and I think it was 96% done of all the side quests before I completed the game, just because I got tired and I wanted to save my girlfriend, not girlfriend, was the 2013 Tomb Raider game. I really loved that game. I loved being Queen of Headshot Island. I loved that bow and arrow like it was my own son. I lovingly upgraded every last bit of that weapon I could.
I love that. See, I'm the person who must complete all the side quests before the final battle. Like, everything maxed out, everything done. There is nothing left to do in this world. I've maxed out so far, I can't even earn more money. It's all 9s. And then I have all the outfits. Even the ones I don't like. I have all the outfits.
I have reaped every last thing this game has sown.
Exactly. I've completed all the collections. Then we go to the final battle.
Of course you do.
Yeah, I think I've tried to do that, and inevitably I fail. There's usually something I missed somewhere. I want to say the closest I got was one of the Sims games for Game Boy Advanced. And I got so close in that one. It was like Urbs, URBS, because it was urban and it was rebellious. And I uncovered nearly everything and then promptly lost the game.
No.
Which, by the way, I literally repurchased it because I was like, damn it, I missed that game.
Yeah.
So now I have it again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I have gotten through hours of gameplay, realize I missed something, gone back to a previous save, and redone those hours of gameplay. I have done
God,
that.
Danielle.
I've relived hours of my life. It's bad.
Danielle.
Yes?
Good Lord.
And now, dear listeners, she has Spiritfarer, so I can't wait. She has to free every spirit. She has to get all the
there's
things.
so many fetch quests in Spiritfarer, though.
It's taking me a while to get through them, but I will get that up to 100%.
I am too. Also taking. There's a lot I still have to do in that game, but it gets sadder and sadder the longer you go because your ship gets emptier and emptier. And then you're just a lone soul on a boat with some more quests to do, but no one to do them with.
Except for your
and
one
like,
buddy.
Subtitle for season 5.
What's the point of dying anyway? If you can't be with your friends.
There's the subtitle for season 5. No, I'm kidding. No.